he's a cardiologist, so I learned a lot from him. For PCI, they just close the emergency department and just go directly to the angio suite. And so for PCI patients, they save time. And this initiative has already performed in China more than 15 years. And it's very mature for the ED to accept it rationale. For PCI patients, okay, they do not need to come to ED, they just go directly to the angio suite. And for the cardiologist to recognize the coronary artery. So why not for neurointervention? We need to go through different kinds of imaging and follow the flow of ED. Why not those patients with suspected large vessel occlusion just directly go to angio suite? So based on this idea, also we have very collaboration with the Macaribo team. So we thought we can think about having a workflow in China. So this is the direct transfer to angio suite. For the rationale is just bypass the emergency department. So no test, no blood sugar test, or no any blood test in the ED, and no CT, and just send these patients with suspected LVO. Okay, suspected LVO, so this is the focus. You cannot just confirm this patient has large vessel occlusion when the patient arrived at the emergency department front door. So those patients you need to have the scales and the NHS score and to select these patients, so to presume these patients has LVO and then to the angio suite. And the angio suite, usually we have flat panel CT with the DSA. But when I have this trial, honestly, going through all the China sites, I found some of the sites they do not pay for flat panel CT. So I'm not sure whether in Vietnam every DSA has flat panel CT. If you have, then we can have the flat panel CT to exclude intracranial hemorrhage. And if the patient is NHS score more than 10, the majority of intracranial hemorrhage is very apparent. And some of the DSA model may not be with very high resolution. So we need to pick those very good quality DSA model and to rule out intracranial hemorrhage in those patients with NHS score more than 10. And if we rule out intracranial hemorrhage, then we can do thrombolysis just on the table of DSA, and then also directly go for DSA examination and followed by EVT for those confirmed ILVO patients. So this is the new workflow for direct to angio suite. And we also have this map here. So patients who transfer to your hospital, comprehensive hospital, or just go directly to the hospital, and they skip the traditional CT or MRI screening, just go directly to the DSA and to fulfill the requirement for the direct to angio suite. Okay, to do the flat panel CT first, and then to DSA. So this is not the rationale. I mean, the concept was not initially derived from us. We learned from the Barcelona team. And when we studied need to do this trial and we got the funding, so we searched how many trials or studies have already been done all over the world. The slides was made by my student, so we usually check the time. So actually, it's studied from the 2017, so it's about 10 years ago. So people started to recognize or to pay attention to this area. And you can see the 2025, there's still some observational studies ongoing. So it's kind of, okay, this field is not that hot, but still some groups paid attention to. So as a younger neurologist, you need to find a direction, right? So you'd better not just pick the one that no one was there. All over the world, we have so many brilliant brains. So you could not be the only one who think about the area and then you open the area by yourself. So the best way is just follow one direction, is not that hard, but someone is still doing, so have some attention there. So this is usually my own experience to share. And so you can see that majority of the time from onset was less than 6 hours, and the stroke severity to how to select the suspected LVO actually was based on the criteria here. So majority of them used the NHS score more than 10, and some of them they used the risk score more than or equal to 4. And also majority of the sites they allowed transfer patients. For transfer patients, it's quite common in Western countries. Honestly, in China, we do not have those too much transfer patients. The transfer system in China is not that mature. People would like to just keep the patients in their hospital and don't want to transfer these patients to the other one. So the transfer rate in every trial honestly is quite high. And then we can see for the direct-to-angio suite, the door-to-puncture time is about 30 minutes lower than the conventional imaging model. And the modified Rankin total 2 was much better in the direct-to-angio suite model, and also the symptomatic ICH rate were comparable. So it means from the observational study, it seems to be we have very good efficacy, and the safety is also controllable. Controllable is because some of the studies they have the symptomatic ICH during for the flat panel CT, so those patients could not be accounted in the final analysis. And for the observational studies, one study we need to pay attention to, that's the Emerald study, is up to 24 hours. So this one is the only one. And they found from the early time window and late time window, they all had significant efficacy benefit from the direct-to-angio suite group. And also there are some meta-analysis. So this meta-analysis analyzed the 2 randomized control trial and 5 observational study. And also they also showed direct-to-angio suite model has significant benefit, more benefit than the conventional model. And the mothership versus transfer. Since the mothership was very rare patients in this model, in this subgroup. So that's why when we're having this study design in China, we mainly pay attention to the mothership. And for transfer patients, we do not have that too many. And there are 3 milestone trials in the area. So the first one is on stroke, and the second one is was published on JAMA Neurology, and the third one was published on Lancet Neurology. So you can see if you have a very good study design and you have enough sample size in this area, maybe you can go to Lancet. So this is, in the very beginning, if you design one trial, you need to think about, okay, what kind of publication it will be finally, on which journal. So at least that's a neurology. Okay. So this trial is very old, so we can, because of time limit, so we probably skip this one. It's a negative trial. The reason why it's negative, because its CT and DSA was on the same floor, and it's only 10 meters away from each other. So the time matches were negative as well. While for the AngioCat, so I visited Barcelona team before I studied this trial. So their DSA, the angio suite was one level lower than the emergency department, and they have steps there, and the elevator is also very busy. So they have significant better functional outcome in the direct angio suite group. So it's kind of your resources will driven the direction of your result. So which kind of centers you need to select. And for our site, our DSA, the angio suite, was on the 3rd floor, while our ED was on the 1st floor. And they have 100 meters away from each other. So honestly, in our site, we are a perfect model to do the trial. And the direct-to-angio, so this one we may be not that satisfied by the trial results. It's negative and also it's brought risk. So it has enhanced symptomatic ICH rate in the direct to angio suite group. And no significant benefit, and also the hemorrhagic risk was higher. While for this one, is majority of the sites they use the MRI. So it's a French study, so they use the MRI for screening, and so this may be one reason. And then the one is the DSA model. They use very old with lower resolution. So when we study this our own trial, so we only select those very good quality DSA model. And these are the comparisons between these three. I will not go to the details. And it's also cost effective. So since we expend more money in the direct to angio suite, but we have more saving from the less disability in the very beginning. But nowadays, since we have direct to angio, this trial, for all the cost effectiveness and the meta-analysis, we probably need to redo it. We have already set up the CSA guideline, which was published on the SVN journal in July, so just simultaneously with our tháng conference. So we have definition, equipment, and staff, and recommendation, and also quality controls. Okay. And nowadays, in all over the world, we have 3 trials ongoing. So in global one is Barcelona team with US team together, the VCHAS trial. And they started about 2 years ago, and then we just studied. We received our government funding. It's a national major funding, and I am the lead for this funding for the project. And also the United States, they studied direct as well. So this is my project information. We plan to recruit 568 patients as minimum. If we can, we probably need to go to 854 based on the interim analysis. And here is the flow. We studied this trial in April. So until today, we had 72 cases randomized. We only activated 4 sites. Before doing this trial, I thought trace 3 is the most difficult one. And then when I do this trial, I found this trial is much more complex than the previous one. So the workflow improvement is more difficult because you need to reorganize the system. But I would like to share you with here, and if you can do this trial in Vietnam, that will be fantastic. Thank you so much.